Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Centre Circle podcast, episode 55. You got myself, Keith, hosting.
Yeah, Dad's in the building today.
Yeah, and Adrian, I'm here again.
Welcome, lads. So, before we get into it, just want to say thanks for all the likes, subscribes, comments, etc. Please keep it up, keep it going. We love the engagement. International week kicked off. So, we're just going to go through the England v Brazil game yesterday, what that means for potential Euros happening in June. We'll talk about the Euro playoff matches that happened, cover a few of the friendlies that happened over the weekend as well, talk about Leon Bailey's kind of fallout with the Jamaican Football Federation, and we'll have a quick touch on country allegiances, players potentially changing countries after opting to play youth football for another country. So have a little conversation around that. So let's kick it off. England 0, Brazil 1. Endrick on his third appearance for Brazil, getting the winner for Brazil at Wembley. What do you guys make of it? First of all, I'm just going to run through the lineup. So we know there's a few injuries. So we know Kane wasn't able to start because of an ankle injury. We know that Saka withdrew from the squad through injury, and you can kind of say Henderson of the usual starters for England. Henderson was missing as well. So I'll just run through the team. So Pickford in goal, Walker right back, Chilwell left back, Maguire and Stones started a centre back pairing. In the middle, we had Bellingham, Rice, and Gallagher, and we had Gordon, Foden, and Watkins in the front three. So, Daz, come to you first. What did you make of the game? You said you were there, and what do you make of the lineup?
Yeah, I was there at the game. When the lineup come through, thought, yeah, it's not too bad. It's always a strange one. Even the atmosphere and the fans, it's always a strange one this March international break, because it almost seems like most of the players don't want to be there. So it's very mishy-mashy. So it's like he's trying to put a team out, but it seems that people are trying not to get injured. So I don't think you ever get a great performance in March. But when I saw the team, I thought it's half decent. Looking at the game, I thought the performance wasn't that great. I think there was only one or two players that done themselves any sort of credit. Everyone else was not fantastic. So it's one of them ones I just think that you can't look too much into it. In my opinion, you got to take it with a pinch of salt. It's just one of them ones where it's just stuck in the worst possible time. And yeah, I think the only player that caught my eye was Anthony Gordon. I thought he done really well on the left hand side, but everybody else I wouldn't really say much about. Bellingham was decent in spells, but I expect that from him, and we know he's going to be in the team. I thought there were two particularly bad performances. Actually played for the same club, but I thought Gallagher really struggled in the midfield, and
Yep.
I thought Chilwell was terrible. I thought he was the worst player on the pitch. So I think that's the position that worries me is left back. We're a bit light at left back. I think we really need Luke Shaw to be fit. Otherwise, I think you're looking at maybe Trippier. You're looking at a right back going over there before you play Chilwell. But yeah, so I can't really read much into it. Even in the ground and that, I was watching the game, but everyone was talking. There weren't really much of an atmosphere. Everyone was talking between themselves. It was more one of them social ones rather than a be all and end all. I've heard some fans have a go at the manager saying he needs to do X, Y, and Z, but I can't really knock him for yesterday. What did you guys think?
Yeah, go on, Adrian.
Well, kind of similar, echoing what you were saying, Daz, where I think he didn't have much choice in the selection based on injuries. Um, it was an okay performance. It was a bit slow. The only thing that I was disappointed in was that Brazil's not Brazil no more, are they? Like you're not gonna get a bit of like
No.
flair, skills, something like outrageous. Like Anthony Gordon was mostly like the most flair player out there um, on the game yesterday. Other than that, I didn't really see much nice touches, flicks, back heels. nothing that was exciting. But I kind of echoing what Daz is saying in terms of it's March, people are worried about the end of the season, the running for the league. So a lot of players are not giving 100%. But I was with you, Daz. I agreed. I think Anthony was the best player. He's done himself a lot of justice in that game.
Mm.
Right? He's given Southgate something to think about. I don't think, unfortunately, Konza was tidy. I think Konza was tidy, but it was enough to displace Walker, Trippier, or Gomez and Trent. It wasn't enough. He won't displace those players, even though he can play centre back. I think Gomez might be a shoe in now because Gomez can play right across the back, can't he? So I think, and based on the left backs, I don't think anyone else is going to be able to fill that spot in right now. Foden, you know what? I want Foden to do well for England. I think it might be a bit of a kind of a mental pressure on himself. Like he hasn't actually put in an outstanding performance for England where you can say, okay, this is the Foden that we've been looking for. Um, he just didn't really do anything. Maybe it's like what you're saying, Daz, where they know the title running, he's not going to give 100%, but he didn't really look exciting out there. I didn't really see anything special from him. But overall, it was a 6 and 5 performances from everyone in terms of ratings, and I think Gordon would have got a 7 out from me if I was doing out of 10 ratings.
Yeah, I agree. And just going back to your point, Dad, about kind of the timing of these internationals,
Mm.
it's quite annoying because the season kind of picks up momentum going into March, and then all of a sudden you've got like a 2 week break where for like the fans it's more like, oh, we kind of want the Premiership and the Championship where you get into the business end, these kind of things to get to the conclusion when you've got a 2 week break for internationals, like where you say players are not really that committed to it. They're normally friendlies, even if there's like a qualifiers going on. These group of games are normally set for friendlies. So it's like, what's the real kind of purpose of them? And I know it's kind of the last set of friendlies before the final squad is announced. So you kind of want to give like those fringe players a chance, maybe. And it's good because like, obviously, Cobby got called up to the squad where if this round of fixtures weren't happening, he may not have got a chance before the Euros final squad. So it's good in that respect. But again, it's just kind of, I think it's something that UEFA and FIFA have to look at going forward. Like, is this round of fixtures really needed? In terms of the performances, um, totally agree on Chilwell. And I'm actually quite surprised he didn't start with Gomez at left back, considering
Yeah.
how well he's played at left back for Liverpool since the start of January. And we've all seen that Chilwell's only really just come back from injury and hasn't really pulled up any trees at Chelsea. And I think ultimately the only reason why he was in the squad is because there's no other left backs to pick from. Like, I don't think he played well at all. I don't think Maguire was particularly good yesterday. Like, I know for England he normally puts in a decent shift, but I don't think he was great. And in the middle of the park, Gallagher, I just don't see what he offers at the international level. And I think you could see when Kobe came on for him, I think it was just before Brazil scored, the difference in intensity that came with it. And granted, it might be because it was his debut, he might have kind of kind of make an impression, etc. But I just thought there was a clear difference between Gallagher and Mainu after Kobe came on. And Watkins, difficult night for him. Like, there wasn't much service for him. He had a chance in the first half. On first viewing, it looked like he just kind of blazed it over the crossbar. But it was a good challenge from the defender who kind of kicked it onto his leg, and that's why it went
Yeah.
over. So yeah, he didn't really stake much claim for the number 9 position in Kane's absence. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what lineup Southgate goes with on Tuesday against Belgium. Just to touch on Foden, it's a difficult one because we all know what talent he has. Like, we all know what he's
Mm.
capable of. Kind of the Manchester City performances, etc. And it might be a case of, are we trying to shoehorn him into the England team? Because if you look at this season, I think if you look at Bellingham in the 10 position he's been outstanding, and I don't think Foden has been as good as Bellingham in the 10 position. So in the case of, do we put him out wide where he's less effective, but play him just because he's in form, but play him out of position, or is it a case of we use him off the bench and we put, even though he hasn't been great this season, we put Rashford, who for England has put in the good performances. Do you play Rashford out left and use Foden as an impact sub if you're not going to play him from the start in that 10 position, which I think Bellingham has kind of excelled more at this season? What do you think about that?
I'm glad you've asked that question actually, because that is the perfect question to ask. And we've had this problem with England in the past, shoehorning players in because, oh, he's too good to leave out. In my view, Foden is not too good to leave out. If he's not going to be in the 10, which he's not, Bellingham's going to be in there. I would not pick him on. I wouldn't pick him on the wing. He's not effective on the wing, especially with Harry Kane being our striker. We know Harry Kane's going to come deep. He's going to do a lot of creating himself. Foden's not really going to go beyond Kane. So for me, it has to be Rashford, or my second choice would be Gordon. With Rashford, the problem with Rashford is that he might not track back, but Gordon's going to do all that tracking back as well. So depending on who the opposition is, I'm playing someone out there who wants to be out there, who plays out there, and will be effective. What do you think, Adrian?
You know, it's a real tricky one because it's like we know what he could do on the board, and for me, if you do certain tactical tweaks where we know Kane's going to come in, but we also know Bellingham's going to run into the space as well. So there might be something where you say, all right, Foden, you come inside, or you run into that space that Kane's vacating. I will give Foden a free roll and see what that looks like. Actually, in the next game, you got a free roll for 45 minutes against Belgium. You can come off the left flank, roam about. We know Gomez can cover that position effectively. Play Mainu and Rice in the DM positions and see what that looks like. I just think that's too much of a talent to not try something else that you haven't tried before. I think the problem is
But haven't we been there before? Sorry to interrupt. Haven't we been there before with Scholes, Beckham, and with Lampard, Scholes, and Gerrard?
we have, but with that for me, it's been quite rigid. So you've been like, all right, Scholes, you're playing the left of the diamond, etc. I'm saying give Foden a free role, let him pick up pockets and areas, and you set up tactically to cover that gap. You say, all right, we've got Gomez and mainly you're going to cover the left when Foden's not there, but let him play. Let's see what he can do with a total free role, rather than saying, all right, you're going to play left
But
wing
isn't that?
forward, Saka, your right wing forward, and
But wouldn't it be
your
three
areas.
players?
What do you mean?
Isn't that giving a free role to three players? Because Bellingham's gonna have a free role in the 10. He's gonna go wherever he wants. You're saying Foden's gonna have a free role, and Kane we know has a free role because Kane's gonna be coming, dropping, and doing whatever he wants as well.
But this is what I'm saying. You can do something different. Like Southgate, even though people are against Southgate, because I was thinking about it, he's got what to a semi-finals and a final with this England team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the quarters as well.
and a
Oh yeah, the
quarters.
quarters. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the quarters.
and it might just be that one little thing. Some games have a free roll. Let's see what them not moving about, interchanging what chaos that causes for the opposition. Because actually, we know Kane's going to drop in. We know Bellingham's going to run into the space. But all right, let's see what that looks like with Foden dropping in there, changing over, going up front. Because he's played the false nine for Man City before, remember? I think there's something to try out there. I think give it one last go. Otherwise, I'll go with your plan in terms of all right, Rashford left, bring on Foden, or Gordon left and bring on Foden to change up, or bring him on for Bellingham in the last 20 or something like that. I just think he's too much of a talent to just put him on the bench without trying one last tactical idea.
This is what I get. Yeah, what do you mean he's too much of a talent? What has he done to tell you he's too much of a talent to leave on the bench?
No, I think you can see of like naturally talented English players, like we've had very few and far between over the years. Like Foden is very naturally talented and can play at a high level. Like you can
But
see that.
mm,
You
but
can
the
see that
problem
in the
is
Manchester City team.
we've got someone who played the same position as him who's better than him. So why can't he go on the bench?
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that he can't
He's
go
a
on the
number
bench.
10. He's a number 10. He's
We're
so
not talking.
talented, but we've got a better player there than him. So what can we do?
But that's what I said. I said play him
Yeah,
left
yeah,
wing forward.
I totally agree. And
Yeah.
I think what would be a good option is if you played Bellingham, Rice, and I think at the minute you got to play Kobe because I think that's good. If it gets to a point where we need to go a little bit more attacking, you could take off Rice or Kobe, drop Bellingham behind because you know he's capable of doing it, and then put
Yeah,
Foden in
I'm
that
listening.
in that 10 position. So that's the kind of options. But I don't think Southgate operates like that. Like he's defensive first. He's like, all right, I'm going to play Henderson and I'm going to play Rice, and those two are just going to sit. I don't think he's too forward thinking for that. But I think that'd be a really good option if we're
But
chasing a game
I
or
think
we need
that
to
gets
kill
the
off a
best
game.
out of Bellingham. Though when you got the two holders, it gets the best out of Bellingham because you can say to Bellingham, "You've got a free role. You can go and join Kane whenever you want." And that's the kind of the role that he's got at Madrid. And
Yeah,
we're seeing the numbers that he's putting up at Madrid, and that's when he was playing best for England as well. Is when he had Phillips and Rice behind him, so
yeah,
he can totally go. He doesn't have to worry about what's behind the defensive part. He can fully commit to the attack, and that gets the best out of Bellingham.
yeah, 100%. Go on,
Mm.
Adrian. What are you gonna say?
No, no, I just kind of again agree. I think, and I wanted to go back a small bit with Kobe, like what we're saying. Those three, Mainu, Bellingham in the middle, and I think the difference that we saw with Mainu in the middle, he wanted to receive the ball in tight spaces, where Conor Gallagher was just running away from it and trying to, oh, I'm going to make a run, and but he's kind of hiding. You're like, well, you're nowhere there to support Rice. There's no outlet there. Where Kobe saying, well, give it to me in this pocket. I don't mind if I've got three guys around me. I'll either play it out, turn them, whatever it may be. And I think that's the difference. But with Foden, he's one of the few players naturally who can receive it on a half turn. You know, he's not. He's got good touches around him. I don't think you can ignore that without trying him one last time. But if it doesn't work out, I agree. Put him on the bench. Let him come on as an impact sub and build his confidence up that way.
Yeah, definitely. And if we touch on a few players that kind of struggled in the game, like I think when Lewis Dunk came on, I don't think he kind of covered himself in glory. And you look at players who are not in the squad, so going back to the whole kind of Tomori issue, it's like, how is Lewis Dunk playing over Tomori? Daz, what's that face about? Come on.
What? Tomori?
So you don't think Tomori's better than Lewis Dunk?
No,
I don't think there's a goal. I don't
Ah,
think the gap's
mate,
I
big.
don't
come
think he's
on.
better than him. Oh, I don't think. What has he done to show that he's better than him?
His performances in Serie A, like playing at a higher
You know
level.
what?
He's won the league, playing Champions League football. He's in the Europa League now, I believe it is. Like the levels are different. I'm not saying he's a world beater. I'm just doing the like for like comparisons,
I don't.
and I think
You
he's
know
ahead
what?
of Lewis Dunk.
I don't think it's
Serie
massively.
A week in week out. But when I saw him in Champions League last season, he was awful. It was awful. At Chelsea, home and away, he was awful.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, the
Mm.
spotlight was on him, and he crumbled
Yeah,
in those two games.
Yeah.
But I think
yeah, but I still think he should be ahead um, of Lewis Dunk. Gallagher, I think Gallagher's just going to get on the squad just due to the sheer lack of players we've got in that
quality,
position. Personally, I would swap him out for Barkley, but I think that's too late down the line. I don't think Gareth Southgate's gonna do
won't
that.
risk that. No, he won't.
Um, Say that again, sorry.
No, Gareth Southgate won't take that risk now and implement
Yeah,
Barkley.
yeah, no, you won't take that risk.
Just
Yeah,
one thing on Gallagher. I think he could be a good tournament player, as in
Come
when
on.
you go into extra time and
Yeah.
stuff like that. He's the kind of player that will run all day. You could bring him on in extra time, and he's going to have the energy to run around everywhere, and he could be effective in that scenario.
And,
yeah, but for me, I think it's the energy. You can't fault his energy. Like he'll give
Mm.
you 12 to 15K per match, like without kind of any fuss. But it's just the quality on the ball. And yeah, I think when you're in those kind of tournaments and you come up against the France, the Spain, the
mm,
Holland, etc., you just need that quality, and I don't think he particularly has that. But
What if you're holding on to a lead, or you go like you go down to 10 men or something like that, I think that's the kind of player that you can bring on that's going to plug some gaps because of just on his energy alone, running around. Maybe you ain't got the ball, maybe you're protecting a 1-0 lead, or you're down to 10 men. I think that's someone you can use in those sort of scenarios.
Yeah, but it does depend on how Southgate uses it. We know Southgate's in-game management isn't the best.
Can I bring
So,
up one other player? I just
yeah,
want to get used to his thoughts on it, really. Kyle Walker. He goes down after 10 minutes.
what are you trying to say?
Nothing wrong to him. Seemingly nothing wrong. Like there was nothing wrong to him to me. And call it the cynic in me, but I think he'll probably withdraw from the squad and will be fit on Sunday. He was
But I
the
think
captain. He was the captain, and he goes down after 10 minutes and has to come off.
I
What
think
do you guys think of that?
I think if you wasn't an Arsenal fan, we wouldn't be having this this conversation. But like we said, we know this international break is a bit contentious. We know if you go through Liverpool, Manchester City, and Arsenal, all three of those teams have had players
dropped
either
out.
not go to the international break or pull out of squads.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm I'm not saying that he's not injured, but I'm not saying he is injured. If he does play against Arsenal next week Sunday, I would not be surprised. Let's put it that way. But I think that's just the nature of the beast, man. Like you got to protect your assets, and if you go back to a comment that Gary Neville said in the week, he said this March round of fixtures, when him, I think he said Beckham and someone else got called up to the England squad. So Alex Ferguson was like, "You can play the first game. You're not playing the second game. Like you're coming back to Man United." So it's been happening for years. Like it's just I've seen a lot of kind of media hype around it on like social media saying, "Oh, this player's not injured. Oh, they're just protecting themselves for their clubs." I get it, man. I totally understand it. Adrian, you got anything to say on that?
No, I agree. Like you said, everyone's doing it. Like Saka pulled out. Like they all do. I'm surprised that Rice is. I hope he just plays a half or not even play on Tuesday night. But he seems to be resilient. But
Yeah,
he's going
he
across the
shouldn't
board.
play.
Everyone's doing it. Muscular injury. That's the muscular injury. And they're pulling out based on that. And we just got to go through that process. I think
Yeah.
the only annoying
So
thing is that Saka had to go to the England camp to be assessed, then to be sent home.
yeah,
Other than that, that's it.
I was surprised with the substitution, though. I was surprised that he brought on Konsa and not Gomez when he went down. I was surprised at that.
yeah. So was I.
But do you think?
But it might be a case of he knows what Gomez can do. So that's been a while since Gomez has been in the squad. But this was
4 years ago?
Konsa's first. Say that again.
Was it 4 years ago that Gomez last appeared for England?
Yeah, it was 4 years ago. But just in terms of like he's played at that level before, like it wasn't like a debut or anything like that. And Konsa hasn't played like this was Konsa's debut, along with Gordon and Mainu. So maybe he just wanted to see how he performed and how he coped at that level. So yeah, I would have put Gomez on, but I can kind of understand why. Like it's a friendly, innit? Like I think that's what a lot of people forgetting. Like friendlies are for experimenting. Like friendlies are not always going to be kind of barnstorming and like how you want games to play, etc. But yeah, let's see.
And
So
Konsa's an interesting one, isn't he? Because he plays right back, but he's obviously I thought he was a centre back, but he's played right back probably more than centre back this season, hasn't he? Really,
yeah,
Konsa.
yeah, he has, and that's a testament to Emery kind of unlocking a new position for him that he's played pretty well. Like similar to kind of Ben White when he moved out there, everyone was a bit like, "Oh, can he do this?" And yeah, Konsa's obviously done it to
And I
a
was a bit.
decent
I was
level.
sorry. I thought he done quite well because I thought, Vinicius is like, all right, I'm gonna, and
Yeah,
he contained Vinicius. He done really well. I think he had one moment he got past him and he got back on time and made a tackle or the block. He was quite decent on the ball as well. He weren't too bad. And I think, like you said, he's looking at Constant to say, all right, you can play centre back and right back. That's not an option. And with Gomez, I think he's got Gomez earmarked for left back now, just based on the injuries. And I think he just wanted to see what Chilwell looks like in that position where he stayed on for much longer. I think he's like, all right, Gomez, you can go left back. Because at the moment, all the left backs are injured. Cresswell's not, I don't think he's showing enough ability to come back in the England fold again. So yeah, I think Gomez has got a seat on that plane now if he stays fit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think he has too, just because of like the injuries and the lack of competition in a lot of these positions. Like England
I don't
is
know. I
struggling.
reckon if the players come back, I can't see him going if all the fullbacks and that come
Who's
back.
that? Who's to come back?
Because if Luke Shaw comes back,
Yeah.
Trippier, Trent Alexander-Arnold, I don't think there's enough space for Gomez.
Southgate's not playing Trent right back. There's
Yeah.
no way he's playing Trent right
I
back.
think he's played
Like
in
he
DM.
never trusted him there.
But it would take him as someone who's covering a right back because obviously it's back down to 23 now. So if you've got a right back or you've got two right backs and Trent can cover there as well, why are you going to then bring another one? You could maybe bring someone else in a different position because worst comes to worst, you've got Trent who can cover there anyway.
But this is I
Yeah,
think
it's possible, but
It's his position.
I don't think Southgate looks at Trent as a defensive option in his England squad. The next manager coming in
Never
might
play
do
him as
that.
right back.
No, I don't think he will.
no.
I don't think he will at all. I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't. Yeah,
And just touching on
Can I
yeah.
just
So
mention Brazil? Sorry.
just touching on Trippier's been so off the pace.
Brazil quickly.
One thing about Trippier.
Yeah.
You were saying Trippier could come in. I think he's been so off the pace. I think he's not going to be considered now. I just don't think he's going to be able to recapture that form to be even considered. He's been for the
I
last
think he's
Nah.
one of Southgate's untouchables. I
yeah,
think he's
100%.
I think he comes in the Henderson camp, and I think he's going to be one of Southgate's untouchables. I think if he's fit, he goes.
I think with Gomez, just based on he can play right across the back, I think that gives Southgate a healthy choice there in the sense of actually I can drop a centre back now and bring in another forward player or another midfielder because I know Gomez can play left back, centre back, and right back. Who else can do that in the England squad?
If
Right
it was me, out of this current England squad, I would drop out Ben Chilwell and Lewis Dunk, and then I'd bring in Trippier as one of those defenders, and then maybe Trent, and then you keep Gomez, so you have Gomez as cover as left and right back as a centre back. You've got Trippier as left and right back cover, and I think that works, to be honest.
What about Luke? You got Luke Shaw. What about Luke Shaw?
Oh, sorry, sorry,
Yeah.
Luke Shaw, sorry, Luke Shaw, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You don't need that cover. If you've got Luke Shaw and you've got someone else to cover left back, like a Trippier,
Yeah,
do you really need Gomez? You don't really need Gomez.
but I'd rather take Gomez and Dunk, to be honest. So
As
yeah,
a centre back.
get rid of Chilwell, get rid of Dunk, and then bring in Trippier and Shaw. I was going to touch on Brazil.
Yeah.
Daz. So I was just looking at their lineup. Bear me 1 second. So we know it's not the Brazil of old, the Brazil that we're used to, but there are still a few players in there that we knew. So Danilo, we know from the Premier League. In midfield, they had Paquetá and Gomes, and then up front they had Rafinha, Vinicius, and Rodrigo. So 5-6 of those players we know. Obviously, Rafinha's not a world beater. He's not at the same levels of Vinicius, but it's a decent team. Like Edison and Allison were injured. I think 3 of their 4 defenders were getting debuts along with the goalkeeper. I think it's just a new, like we said on the pod before, innit? Like the international levels that we're used to in our younger days have dropped, innit? And I think we just got to get used to certain levels of football just not being the same as what it used to be. And like football's cyclical, so it might get back to those levels, but I think we're at the bottom of the curve at the minute, and we need to wait for it to get back up to the top.
That's harsh.
I think that's the reality of football at the minute, man.
I thought Brazil were good. I thought they played well. I think what it is, we don't get that excitement now because we see them week in, week out. All these players, they play in the Premier League, got Guimaraes, Paqueta. They even brought on Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. We're seeing these players week in, week out. So it's not got the same razzmatazz as before when you're seeing a Rivaldo or someone who you haven't seen play for how many months and they come and they're brilliant. So it's a different time as you say, but I thought that the front four, they all play for Real Madrid. They're good players. And obviously we saw Endrick come on, 17 years old, the youngest ever goal scorer at Wembley. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's all right. It's not Ronaldinho levels, but I think they're still a decent outfit and got some good players. Rafinha, I thought Rafinha was one of the best players in the league last season for Leeds at that level. When
yeah,
he's
he was
gone
good,
to
but you can
Barcelona, he
see,
struggled.
yeah, he hasn't made the leap up in it, like to show
Yeah.
the
Mm.
consistency. Like to be fair, even João Gomez in the midfield, like they had a all Premiership midfield
Yeah.
yesterday, which I was quite surprised about. Um, yeah, Brazil were good. Like there were periods in the first half where they were like bopping round England. Paquetá was
Mm.
like pulling the strings, etc. And they could have had a couple goals before Endrick came on. Um, do you think there could be a lot of pressure on Endrick going to Real Madrid? I'm not sure if he's going to start, to be honest, especially if Mbappe goes there. It's going to be
Mm.
very hard for him to get into that first team at Real Madrid. Is is the Could the move be too big for Endrick? Basically, that's the question.
I don't. I don't think so. And I think they've learned. I'm going to use I think they've learned from Odegaard in terms of actually giving him time to brew. I think they may have had a high expectation for Odegaard and it never worked out, and they end up selling him. But now I think they'll create a bigger a pathway for Hendrick in the sense of let him do a couple loan spells and take his time to implement himself into the team or introduce him into the team. And we have to wait and see. You don't pay that amount of money, and you're not going to invest in that to see that kind of come to fruition, and see what that looks like in your team.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Dad?
Yeah, I think he'll be given the time, and also they've got other players. They've got other Brazilians there, Rodrigo, Vinicius, that are going to help him along. And he's not going to be relied upon. When you got Mbappe and Bellingham, they're going to be the stars. He's going to have good 2 3 years to bed in before he's going to be sort of the expectations going to come on him. So he's got time on his side. So hopefully he rises to the occasion.
Yeah. Do you think it might be a bit of an adjustment for him because he's been playing like first team football for the last kind of like couple years? So to go from playing like regular first team football to then playing like bit part at a big team, do you think that might kind of hinder him slightly, or do you think he'll just kind of by this time be like, look, I'm at Real Madrid. This is where I want to be. If I kind of take my time and I'm patient, I'll get to the levels where Madrid think I could be and I want to be, basically.
I
Yeah, fully.
definitely agree with that. And I think when I was just thinking about it, actually Real Madrid's front line or this whole team is really young. So it works in two ways for him. He's got a
Mm.
young team around him that's going to be able to understand his culture, his style of play, etc., etc. And but then also it just gives him that extra bit of time to come into the team without that pressure of like, oh, you're this young talent, you're the next superstar, you need to start performing now because there's so many other people to take that weight off of his shoulders during that time. So yeah, I think it's a good move for him, and it's the right time to join Real Madrid.
Yeah,
And
definitely. I think,
I think that's a great point you make there, Adrian, because that all the players being young, that's by design. They
Yeah,
made a conscious effort to say we're not missing out on any of the young big talents anymore. After they lost Neymar to Barcelona, they said nope, we're not missing out on all the any young talents no more. So they went and got Vinicius, they went and got Rodrigo, and now Endrick's the next one. They got Bellingham.
yeah.
That's basically their new plan,
yeah, they're doing well.
and it's working.
I think the smart money might be to back them for the Champions League next season. Because,
Mm.
yeah, that team, if they get who's the right back from Buying Davis, Alfonso Davis, are looking at as
Yeah.
well. Mate, scary hours, scary hours. So yeah, England, they're playing Belgium on Tuesday at Wembley. It'll be interesting to see kind of what team Southgate puts out. I think it'll be a bit more experimental. Like I was reading today that Sam Johnston pulled out, the Crystal Palace goalkeeper, and Trafford has been promoted. I don't see the value in playing Pickford in that game because we know Pickford's going to start if he's fit. So kind of give one of the other goalkeepers. So
Ramsdale.
so either Ramsdale or Trafford, just give them a start. I think Tony's got to start on Tuesday. Madison, you've got to give him a run out.
Yes. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen him yesterday.
Yeah,
Madison. Forgot about him.
yeah. I'd also play Braithwaite. Like, if you're going to put these people in the squad, I know sometimes people are called up just so they can kind of get an understanding of what it's like to be in a squad before they get in like
In the
another
camp and
squad.
all that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's like there's no harm playing him. So play Braithwaite, maybe play him alongside Stones, like the better of the two centre backs who are in the team. Yeah, maybe give Cobby a start as well. Kind of, yeah,
Rashford?
yeah,
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 start
100%
Rashford.
Rashford, yeah.
We know, obviously we know what he can do, but he didn't get many minutes on Saturday. I think it
I
was
would like to
it.
see what's going on with Palmer. I
He
would
was
like to
injured as
see him.
well.
Is he out the squad? I know he was one available yesterday.
He's still in the squad, but he wasn't fit for the game. So yeah, maybe get Palmer and who else? Henderson. If Henderson's fit, he'll play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We
I
know
suppose
that.
Gomez will
So
have to start as well.
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, Gomez and yeah, Conte might even get a start. You never know. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they get on against one
Dunk.
of the.
Dunk.
Get him out of here, mate. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he fares against one of the other favourites for the tournament. Right, that wraps up England v Brazil. We're just going to run through the Euro playoff games that took place over the weekend because we know there's still 3 places left at the Euros before the tournament teams are complete. So Poland played Estonia. Poland won 5-1. Wales played Finland. I caught some of that game. Wales were actually really, really good. Most of their kind of Premier League players kind of stepped up and done well in that game. Bosnia lost 2-1 at home to Ukraine. Israel lost 4-1 at home to Iceland. Georgia beat Luxembourg 2-0. Greece beat Kazakhstan 5-0. So that leaves the playoff finals, as they are now, with Wales v Poland on Tuesday, Ukraine v Iceland, and Georgia v Greece. So just looking at that, I'd say Wales have got a pretty tough game, even though it's at home. And we know the Wales kind of home crowd is like kind of really good, etc. But I think Poland is going to be a tough game for them. Ukraine v Iceland, I'd expect Ukraine to go through. And Georgia v Greece, I'd expect Greece, but you never know what can happen in these playoff games. And they're one-off games. There's no 2 legs or anything. They've kind of changed the format in these playoffs. Just on the Euros, just looking at the odds for tournament betting, and surprisingly, England are favourites for this tournament, which has surprised me a little bit. So England are favourites. Then you got France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Belgium, Netherlands are kind of the top 8 teams of the bookmakers. Of those teams that I've mentioned, who would you kind of put your money on, lads?
Well,
Any one of you?
I think I'd just go for France. I think France has still got a lot of high quality players in their team, and Mbappe on his day can single handedly win the game. So, and he will do anyway for France. I think for England being made favourites, though, I think that's based on their last few tournaments, how they finished them, and then they're looking at the new talent that's come
Yeah,
through. That's saying, well, Foden, Bellingham, Saka, Rice, and then you've got Harry Kane who scored 30 odd goals already. I think that's why they've been made favourites. But I think for me, it's France.
Does
Yeah, looking at it, obviously you're looking at is that English bookmakers that are making England favourite, but
oh yeah, of course.
I think probably just I'll say England. Yeah, I'll say England. Just obviously it's the Mbappe factor, but if I think this should be the combination of all those previous tournaments that Adrian discussed, and yeah, I think England have got the best team.
Yeah, and the thing with England is like, can England win it? Yes, they defo can. Will I think Southgate is the main factor. Like if I was Southgate and this is my last tournament, I would just go in there like reins off in it. Just be like, go and play. Like we've got the players. Let me just show them that I've got trust in them that they can go out and deliver. In terms of tournament favourites, I think France are going to be a problem, and I think Portugal might surprise a few people as well. Yeah, that's like remember you heard it here first, you know.
Oh, they got a worse
Yeah,
manager than us.
yeah, but
Mm,
they got some decent players, and I think just with
mm.
the factor of being at home, Germany will always have a
Yeah,
chance.
I think
So
Germany will be good.
yeah. Right, so just moving on to the friendlies. So yeah, speaking of France and Germany, they met in Paris over the weekend, and yeah, Germany turned out 2-0 winners, which is I'd say it's a bit of a surprise just because of the form of Germany of late.
Mhm.
Obviously, Nagelsmann's taken over, and he's done pretty well since he's taken over as manager. Goals from Wirtz, who's been kind of excellent at Leverkusen this season, popped up with many important goals. He scored after 7 seconds,
Yeah.
and he was set up by Tony Cruz, who has been coerced out of retirement by Nagelsmann. So he retired back in 2021, and yeah, Nagelsmann's been like, look, we basically need you back. And on his first return, he set up a goal, and then yeah, Havertz got a second goal in the second half. Yeah, I was pretty surprised because France put a decent team out. To be honest, I thought France would have nicked this, but yeah, Germany looked like they might be a bit of a problem. Might be back under Nagelsmann, and there's talk that the German FA want to extend his contract beyond the end of Euros, just because based on how well he's done in these kind of friendly games that he looked after. With France, I'm just going to go to their lineup quickly because I'm sure they didn't start the superstar centre back that is William Saliba.
No,
So I'm just going to look at the lineup.
No, he never played. They played
Haggard.
Was it
was
Omar
it
Pacano
Pavard? I
and
think they played him. They played him in centre back instead.
who did they play? Sorry.
I think it was Pavard. I think it
Yeah.
was. They played him centre
Oh,
back
oh,
instead.
really? With
Yeah.
Kanate? I know Kanate
No, not
was playing.
Canati.
No, I'm Meccano who
Oh,
was in the
really?
centre back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ah,
Canate weren't
okay.
playing either.
Mm.
Mm.
So I find that interesting that you've got two really good young centre backs in Kanate and Saliba,
Mm.
yet Deschamps just kind of overlooks them. And we look at
Yeah.
Upamecano this season, hasn't played well at all for Bayern. And even going back to
No,
last season,
he's been all over the place. Yeah.
yeah, like he hasn't been great at all. Like I'm surprised that he hasn't been like, right, Saliba Kanate, you can be my centre back pairing
Mm.
for the next kind of 5, 6, 10 years. Like, yeah, I'm very surprised at that. But
But has he let
like,
France down? Is this obviously people talk about Southgate and that, but the same thing's happening at other nations. You got to say Konate and Saliba have been way better than him, but he gets to start all the time. Is
yeah,
it because he's one of Deschamps' guys that he's relied on in the past and has never let him down?
yeah, it looks like that is the case. But
Mm.
yeah, it's
Which is
interesting to.
understandable.
Yeah, it is. I think
Mm.
we kind of, as fans, we kind of see it as this is the obvious solution. Why don't you do that? But
Mm.
obviously, there's kind of things in the background that happen, etc., that we don't necessarily see. So yeah, we're just kind of looking at a high level. There's deeper things.
And also, I think the other thing with what I've seen with other nations historically is they're prepared to pay who's best and play who's best for the squad rather than he's the best player or he's the best defender at the moment. And I think Deschamps has shown that throughout his time. I'm literally going to play this guy now because I know what he's going to do for me. He can be 100%, and he understands my system. And I don't care that this guy at the moment is putting in 9 out of 10 performances every week. This guy fits the system much better, you know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally understand, and that kind of goes back to what we were saying, isn't it? Like play the players that's going to work for the team. Don't play the players that people are clamoring for. Essentially, it's all about the benefit of the team. Yeah, moving on. Ireland nil, Belgium nil. So some people might have missed this, but John O'Shea was named the interim Irish manager a couple of weeks ago. The Belgium team that Ireland played didn't have KDB. Lukaku was on the bench. I think Trossard started up front. I caught a bit of this game. Ferguson, the young Brighton forward who at the start of the season there was a lot of noise about. He missed a penalty. Wasn't a very good penalty, I must
Wow.
say. And he hasn't scored in 20 games for club or country. So people are saying there's a bit of a kind of nervousness around him, whether he's going to deliver what he promised at the start of the season. And I was on Twitter a bit earlier, just kind of looking at what Brighton fans were saying about him, and quite a few were saying that they should loan him out to either a Championship team or it's funny this coming from a Brighton fan, a lower Premiership team.
Established.
So
Mm.
yeah. So what do you guys think about kind of Ferguson? Like there was talk at the start of the season like he'd be a good fit for Arsenal. Man United were interested in him, and they were quoting like upwards of 50, 60 million. But obviously the hype's died down a bit now with the lack of goals. Is it a case of just the media hyping someone young and obviously talented too early, or is it a case of just let him play football and just see where he lands in the end? Like he might not be that star that people think he is. He might just be a middle of the road Premiership footballer.
When I saw him, I thought he looked brilliant when I first saw him. He looked like he had all the attributes that he needs to be a top striker. I think what he suffered with is the injuries. He's had loads of injuries this season, and also Brighton have been very up and down as well. So
Yeah,
he hasn't had no consistency. So I don't think they need to loan him out, but I think that he needs to have another season there. Definitely, I don't think he'll be moving now, and he needs to get that consistency. And well, first of all, he needs to stay fit because that's the start of everything, really. So I still think he's still a top player. I think he's still destined to be a top player, but his growth has stunted a little bit this season. He's not kicked on like I expected him to do this year.
yeah, definitely. What do you think, Adrian? Sorry.
Yeah, like what Daz was saying about the injuries, I think that's played its part. But I think the whole squad issue with the squad played its part as well. Quite a few injuries in their squad, a lack of consistency. So adjusting to that, I think it's been part of an issue. And just coming back from that injury and getting in that good rhythm because he's been pitted up against. Is it Pedro? So yeah, I think give him one
Yeah,
more season
Yeah,
and just see what he looks like going again. I think just because that's a learning curve. Like not to go 20 games without scoring, he's learning from that. And it's just like how do you come back from that next season with a fresh start and then what that looks like, you know?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, his last goal was against Nottingham Forest back in November, but it's like on the flip side, like of those 20 games, he's only played 90 minutes, one, two, three, four times in those 20 games. So obviously it's hard to score if you're getting kind of bit part minutes.
mm.
So yeah, I think he's a good player. I think he'll come good. Like this season, Darwin Núñez went 17 games without scoring a goal. Like it happens in it. So yeah, I don't think it's something that he should be too hung up on. Um, Spain played Colombia on Friday night at the London Stadium. So I know there's a massive South American contingent in and around East London. Spain lost 1-0. Munoz scored with, I don't know if you guys saw the goal, but Luis Diaz with a really good assist. I think
Mm.
it was the
Yeah, sorry.
Spanish defender Vivian that he that he cooked before he crossed it in. So yeah, Spain another one of the favourites for the Euros. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress in their next game and the warm up to the tournament. And then yeah, Holland 4, Scotland 0. So Scotland actually played pretty well in this game. They just couldn't take their chances, and Holland did. Like, is it Reinders? He scored the first goal, like a bit of a screamer. I think it was like 20, 30
Mm.
yards out. Wijnaldum scored. Man United's forgotten man, Weghorst scored. And Marlon, they kind of wrapped it up in the last kind of 10 minutes to make it 4-0. Obviously, Scotland have qualified for the Euros, and I think they'll want to be able to go into that tournament, not just kind of get a participation medal. And I think that's kind of happened the last few tournaments that they've been in. They haven't kind of really kicked on, etc. But Holland are the kind of teams that they need to perform against to show their credentials at the international stage and international tournaments. So I think they'll be a little bit disappointed with that result. But I think they might take a little bit of heart that they were able to create chances against Holland. They just couldn't put them away.
Just
So
on that
yeah,
game,
yeah, go on.
I think I saw some of this game and I thought Scotland were the better team for large parts of that game, but just couldn't score. Um, Really, the 4-0 flatters Holland massively because the game only got out of hand once all the changes came on. So
Yeah,
Scotland, the people that Scotland were bringing on were nowhere near as good as the people they were taking off. Whereas Holland were able to bring on players that were still people like Malin that came on. They're still quality players. So I think
yeah,
the squad depth made it 4-0. But when it was the first 11s versus the first 11s, Scotland were just as good, and they had some brilliant chances.
yeah.
Actually,
They
one
did.
guy was through 1-on-1. He hit the bar. They had some. So I think they should take real good heart from this game. I think they played really well.
Yeah,
One thing
definitely.
I will mention,
Yeah, go on.
Gakpo, disgraceful dive in this game as well. Oh my god, it was disgraceful. It was disgraceful.
Yeah, he's trying too hard.
Yeah, he went through the box. He went in the box. McTominay came near him. Oh, he didn't go. He didn't even make a challenge or anything. This guy's going over. It was horrible. But yeah, it was. Scotland were very unlucky, and I think
Yeah,
they looked like they could do something in the Euros based on
yeah.
that
And if you
performance.
look at their lineup, like you go through their defense, Hendry's like highly kind of rated. I know he's playing out in Saudi, but highly rated. Tierney and Robertson down the left, McTominay and Gilmore in the middle. Like they're not well beaters, but they're established
Mm,
players like who could kick ball. You got McGinn. Che Adams plays up top. So yeah, they've got
mm,
a decent team, and yeah, like Holland are no mugs. Like they got a back four of Ake, Frimpong, Van Dijk, who have all been playing well. Wijnaldum in the middle, Depay, Gakpo, Simmons up front, and Simmons had a really good season this year. So yeah, I don't think Scotland will be too disheartened based on their performance. Right, and sticking with the international theme, you might have seen some comments that Leon Bailey has made about the Jamaican Football Federation. Um, so, for those of you that don't know, give it a bit of context. So, in the last round of fixtures before this, Leon Bailey and forward Trevante Stewart, they were kind of reprimanded for breaking team rules. So they left the hotel after curfew, and they didn't come back uh, till the early hours of the morning. So the manager said that they wouldn't be selected for this round of fixtures anyway. So Leon Bailey was never going to be in this squad based on what happened on the last round of fixtures. But he still flew out to Jamaica. I think our usual host John might have been partying with him at some point. You never know.
mm,
But
mm,
yeah, he decided to do an interview with, I assume it was like a local podcast or newspaper. And I'll just read a few of the comments that he said. So, people don't know, most of the time I have to book my own flights to make sure that I reach the national team, as the Jamaican Football Federation are very unprofessional. If they do send my flight details, it's normally at 11 p.m. and I have to travel the next day. And then he said if he does have to book his own flights, they don't pay him back. And he said sometimes when they turn up, the equipment's not right. Sometimes there's no shirt, or they find that they have the women's shirts. And he just said basically it's just ridiculous. And he's taken a self exile from the national team for a little bit. So, Daz, as a proud Jamaican, what do you make of kind of this fallout?
Well, yeah, I took in the interview as I was very interested, and what it came across to me as is that a lot of it was spite. I
Mm.
think he feels wrong because he's been suspended, and he's obviously upset that he's been suspended, and it almost came across as that this is him hitting back at them because how can you suspend me? I'm the biggest player here. I'm not. I am this. I'm X, Y, Z. When he was saying that, oh, do people come out to see me and stuff like that? I'm thinking, okay, you're good as a Jamaican player, but you're not. He was going on like he's some well beater, like when you're a decent player, but you ain't no sort of superstar.
Yeah,
So I think a lot of it. I think had it not had what you said in regards to him being suspended and being in the last squad, breaking the curfew rules, I don't think none of this would have come out. So
Yeah.
why wasn't you saying this before? It was okay before, but now they've suspended you. All of a sudden, all this is a problem. Obviously, Jamaica is not the biggest country in the world. I don't doubt that some of the things he said is probably true, but you got to remember who you're dealing with. This is you're in a Premiership team, Aston Villa. You're going to get everything laid out on the plate for you. That's a different level. When you go to Jamaica, they're not the equivalent of Aston Villa. They're the equivalent of playing in League One, League Two. So if you go to League Two, you ain't going to be getting the same treatment that you're getting at Aston Villa. That's just life. So yeah, I wasn't really happy with it. I think if you've been suspended, I think that you should knuckle down and not make yourself the story, which I think is done. So yeah, I wasn't happy with it.
yeah. Adrian.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with what he was saying. It's the timing and the reason, the motive behind what he's
Mm.
saying. So I agree with Daryl that it was spiteful. It was spite to do it. But actually, if you go back through his history, he has history with Jamaica where he stopped playing for the national team for various reasons. So I think when he first moved to Germany, he stopped playing for Jamaica because again, it was like they weren't meeting his expectations, etc., etc., etc. You can't do that now because now what we're getting is players that are play who are English born, who are dual heritage, are playing for Jamaica now. Like they're a good team. So you got what Damari Gray's there, Mikel Antonio joined late, and they've got a few other players that are
Yeah,
born and played in England, but are playing for Jamaica now. So you got a real blend of like Premiership experience and Championship experience players, also with Jamaican players and who are playing abroad as well. Some of them in the MLS and etc. etc. So for him to be throwing his toys out the pram or making a point now, it was the wrong time. He should have done that last season or last year. These are the issues that we have, and for us to get to the next level, we need to improve on these things of being more organised, players getting the right flights, etc., etc. So, he's lost his weight in that argument, his position in that argument. I think if he had done it last season or 2, 3 games ago, I think people would have been supporting him and backing him to say, let's step up. Like, we've got a good team, we can do a lot more. But yeah, you can't be doing that now after because you've been exiled from the squad for breaking the rules. So yeah,
yeah, and I think it's a case of the right message, but the delivery was wrong. I think if he had come together with a few other senior players in the squad and approached the Jamaican, like even while he was still on the exile, he can be like, look, we've noticed that these things are happening within the squad over the last kind of 2 or 3 meetups, And I think they need to be addressed for us to get to the level where we want to be. Like Jamaica, like their levels have increased quite significantly over like the last year. Like I know they qualified for a World Cup, but just in terms of the players that are playing for them now, the levels have increased. Like they gave the USA men's national team like a really good game over the weekend, and you can see the levels that are potentially there. So I think it's a case of him saying, look, to a few other senior players, let's go to the Jamaican FA and be like, right, these things we need to improve on for us to get to the level that we want to be. And like, obviously, he's not the first person that's spoken out. Like, we know that Roy Keane done it with Ireland in the World Cup, etc. Like, we know these things happen, but it's the way that you deliver the message. And as you said, Dad, it came across very kind of a little bit mean spirited and spiteful in the case of, well, I'm not in the squad at the minute. These are all the things that are going wrong. It's like when someone breaks up with their partner and then they start listing all the things that they didn't like about them,
Yeah,
but when they were with them, like
yeah.
it wasn't an issue.
Uh,
So
mm,
yeah, I think he needs to kind of take a look at what he wants from the Jamaican national team. And like you said, Dad, he was kind of doing like the big I am in terms of, well, everyone comes to see me when I play for Jamaica, and Jamaica, like I'm the main guy. Well, if you're the main guy, why don't you do something positive and like spin it and be like, right, I'm the main guy. I want to campaign for making things better for the Jamaican national team, and I want to do this by not throwing the FA under the bus. And I know he's had a long history with the Jamaican FA. Like when he was a kid, and he wanted to leave and go play overseas when he was like 11 or 12. There were some issues with like payments and all that kind of stuff. And like Binti said, when he was in Germany for the first time, there were some issues with the FA then. So I know he's got like a checkered history with him. And it might just be a case of, like I've had enough now, innit? Like all this has happened over the years, and like he's like finally want to speak out, etc., which is understandable. And if it's that, that's fine. But there are kind of ways to go about things, and I think he's gone about it the wrong way.
and I think Adrian's right. It's about timing, and you're also correct about what you said, the right message. But yeah, I would say the wrong messenger. And the thing is, you're basically two wrongs don't make a right. So you're basically accusing them of being unprofessional, saying they're not doing X, Y, and Z. But then you've just been unprofessional. You've just gone out. Are you when you're with Aston Villa? Are you going out and breaking the curfew? But no. But you're doing it with Jamaica. So you're saying you're being unprofessional yourself. So how can you then turn around and be like, oh, they're being unprofessional about X, Y, and Z, when you're not taking it seriously either? And if you are, if you believe you are the leader, I'm the best player, etc., what example are you setting for the rest of the squad when you're going out and breaking the curfew? Everyone else should go. Everyone else should go out then. If you're not taking it seriously, why should they?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just lacked class, didn't it?
really. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, it
Mm,
just lacked a bit. It lacked a real
So say that
bit of
again.
class. It lacked class. You know, like if he had done it
mm.
at the start of the qualifying, like of the qualifying campaign, and he said, "Look, these are the things like you were saying." Then yeah, it's a bit hypocritical. You know, like you're going to say one, but you're doing the total
Mm,
opposite. So yeah,
mm,
Yeah, and the FA did push back. They said like I think they said 3 out of the last 4 times they paid for his travel. So there are instances where he has paid for the travel, and they said I think they said out of those three, 2 of the times he was traveling business class. So
mm,
don't know, man. When you're playing with Aston Villa and you're flying around like all luxurious, and then they want
mm.
to send you to Jamaica in premium economy,
Did
you
he
know what I
say that
mean?
it took 3 flights? He had to take three
yeah,
flights to
green
get to
flags.
Jamaica.
Yeah,
Three, yeah, that bare layovers.
But just to clarify, they paid for 3 flights, not that you had to date 3 flights.
Take 3 flights to get
yeah, but
there.
he said, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought they'd done
No,
the
Oh,
God.
imagine.
Mm,
But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds, and I'm sure there are other nations where things are similar. I know during the Afcon, I can't remember what nation it was. They had an issue with getting to the tournament in Ivory Coast itself. So yeah, like we know this happens in kind of the smaller nations, and
mm.
yeah,
It
it's just
happened to
about
the Jamaica women as well, didn't it? Good for the World Cup as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it did.
Mm.
And we know that like these nations get paid. Some of them, like depending on how far you get in tournaments and what tournaments you play for, they get paid quite a bit of money by the FA or
From
no,
UEFA and from
sorry,
FIFA. They get their
UEFA,
money
so
from
yeah,
FIFA, don't
UEFA,
they?
FIFA,
Mm.
CONCACAF, etc. We know there's money in it, and that money should be flowed down to the players at some point. But I think if you've got players like Bailey, and I'm not saying like this should happen because he's a high profile player playing in the Premier League, but if you can hold out getting your payment from the National FA and they can use that payment to invest in infrastructure and you know it's going into infrastructure, then why not? Like we said before, like with the England team, when you get called up to the England national team, that money always goes to charity. If you can
Mm.
defer payment and it goes back into infrastructure for the national team, I'm not saying you should do it, but it's something that you should look at potentially. If you're a player like Bailey, who's getting paid a higher wage than someone who plays for the national team and based in Jamaica. Go on, Adrian.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that Bailey's got to identify and we've got to recognise that football's not their main sport, is it? Like athletics is where they've yielded like great returns. Um,
Yeah.
so then to say we're going to
Cricket's
put
still
that
big
money
out
into
there.
football, pardon?
Mm.
Hey, I
Yes,
said cricket's still big out there as well, isn't it?
yeah. So I think it's turning. The tide's turning slowly, but you got to remember Usain Bolt, Shelly Ann Fraser, and the other Jamaican sprinters. That's brought Jamaica like to a higher level, you know. So football,
Yeah.
like the money's going to get there eventually because you are getting better quality players. But then, like you said, there's things you can do to help it improve and get there faster.
Yeah, definitely,
And the thing
definitely.
is, in countries in that part of the world, a lot of that money you think going to charity and that is going missing. It's going somewhere else. So
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's the
yeah,
problem.
hopefully
But
not.
yeah,
But yeah,
let's
let's
move
see how
on.
that
Mm.
let's see how
Mm.
that unfolds. And yeah, we'll just wrap up just talking about country allegiances at the international level. So yeah, just bring this up because over the weekend we saw that Tuan Zabi, who's at Ipswich at the minute, he played for England at under 19 level, under 20 level, and even England under 21. Has just changed allegiances to play for Congo at full international level. And to kind of coincide with this, it's been reported that Wan-Bissaka offered his services to Congo and they turned him down just based on they approached him when he was younger and he said he wanted to hold out for England. We know that many players, high profile, not so high profile, have changed allegiance at some point. So kind of the high profile ones like Costa went from Brazil to Spain. Um, who was Laporte went from France to Spain, was it?
No, that
Yep,
way.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Declan Rice went from Ireland to England. Played for, I think he even played for the senior Irish team. I know it was only a friendly, but was still able to change to England. What's your take on kind of players changing allegiance and country to essentially get caps? Like even go back to like Jamaica, there's a lot of players who later on, kind of like the Mari Grays, Antonios, kind of decided to play for Jamaica later on in their careers. What do you think about players doing this?
You know what? I think
I think I don't see a problem. I don't see a problem with it. I think it it's allowed to a certain extent. I don't know the exact rules. Is it just a competitive game that locks you in?
Yeah, so yeah, before it used to be any kind of
under
appearance, and then
21.
you weren't allowed to change, but now it has to be a competitive game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's no issue with it. You played a couple of friendlies for, say, like in England, and then you decide to go to Congo. I don't understand. That's true that they've turned down Wan-Bissaka. I don't understand why they would do that because you've got to fully understand that playing for England much is going to appeal much more to you than playing for Congo. So I don't see why. Okay, he's not made it in England. why you're going to turn around and say no. That's like someone's not made it at Manchester United, so now Oxford are going to say no, we're not having him. I don't see. It's not a diss in any way whatsoever. He obviously wanted to. He's gone for the better opportunity. He's not made it there. Now he's coming to you. I don't see why they would turn around and say no to that. What do you think, Adrian?
For me, it's about the timing you're going to turn around and answer come back. So he's waited on the side for like maybe 4 or 5 seasons now. England's made it clear that you're not even in the top 5. Most of them in the top 10 now, picking order, because there's younger players coming through that they're going to put ahead of him. So then to come on like, I want to play for you now, I understand them saying no, and I think there's a bit of pride. You've got to have a bit of pride, because if we actually looked at it like players that are actually born in Africa and the Caribbean before they sign up for England, there's quite a high number of them, and actually if they signed for their country or went with their born where they were born,
But where was he born?
How much further would those countries be in terms of with those players there? I'm not sure where Wan-Bissaka was born, but Raheem Sterling was born in Jamaica.
But I think it comes down to what system you came through as well. So Wan-Bissaka, he's going through Crystal Palace Academy. Essentially, he's gone through the whole English system. So in terms of football, he's going to be more English than Congo, because that's the system he's gone through. Had he gone through the Congo system, would he be a footballer? Would he be where he is now, playing for Manchester United? Probably not. He's benefited from the English coaches, the English setup, the academy that's been at Crystal Palace. So that's what's made him the player today.
Yeah, and so Wan-Bissaka was born in Croydon, and that kind of brings up a discussion we were having in the group chat about the system that you come through. I was of the case of what you just said, Dad. Like if you're born and raised in England, but you have the option to play for let's say your parents' birth country. If you don't have much affiliation with that country, it's going to be hard to select that country.
100%.
But I made the point that I've got a young cousin who's coming through at Fulham. He was born and raised here, but he decided to play for Grenada, and he picked that quite early. Like he played for them for like under 17s, I think it is, and that was just based on like his family upbringing having him like a close connection with Grenada. So like went there loads as a kid, etc. Like it's really done into him. Like this is the second option for you. You might think a lot of these players might not have that kind of ear at home saying, right, even though you're born in England and you want to go through this academy, there is an option of playing for my birth country, wherever it might be. A lot of these players might not have that kind of conversation with their parents until they make it, and they realise that they might not make it at England. So let's consider playing for birth nation and seeing where that goes. And then I think when it gets to that level, a lot of people kind of see it as a second option because they can't get to England. But I think if you have the conversation with those kids early on, they can make a choice saying, right, early doors, if I want an international career, I can go play for XYZ, birth country of my parents, rather than play for England.
But I think it comes to affiliation as well, because there's a lot of players in that. Like, say Wan-Bissaka, for example, we don't even know if he's even been to Congo. He might not even been to Congo in his life. So what affiliation is he having to Congo? I think they were saying that about Saka, and I wasn't sure if Saka even been Nigeria. So like, it's hard to then say, oh, I'm going to play for my parents' birth country, but you might not know much about that country at all, or even been there. Depending on what your upbringing was.
But then,
go on,
how did Congo do in the African nations? Remind me. They done.
Keep talking. Well. I'll have a look.
I think they got to the semis. I think they done quite well.
So then, so if they got to the semis and they look pretty solid as a team, their chance of getting to the World Cup has increased. Yeah, possibly. Now, is this timing based on, I want to play the World Cup, I'm not going to have a chance in hell with England, let me come to you now, Congo. And that's why Congo's saying, no, it's okay, you didn't want us 5 years ago or 3 years ago when we came to you. don't get me wrong. I think
Mm.
the African nations, they do capitalise off of the English structure in terms of the academy for some of their players and the structure and the education that they get through football. But there is that also because when you who's the other player from Manchester United that went for Congo?
Tunsabi.
When you look at it, his
Mm.
history with England was stopped by under 19s. I think he stopped playing for England. I think he might have made
Under 20, no, he played for under
21.
21.
21.
I think when I looked it up was maybe one or two appearances. And then he's
Yeah,
like
it wasn't
25, 26 now, right? He's 24. 24, 25. So he's looked at that. I haven't got a chance for England again. And that seems to be the cutoff is the under 21s. Now you're actual senior football player. Are you ready to come over to Congo or to Nigeria, whatever it may be? I think you got to look at the timing. Was Wan-Bissaka's intentions pure in the sense of actually I do want to play for Congo, or was it based on actually you had a good African Nations tournament? Let me come and join you now.
Yeah, let me ride on the coattails. Yeah, they got to the semi-finals, lost on penalties. So, it's an interesting one. I think for me, I don't see the problem in people changing. Like, obviously, international is kind of the peak of most people's career in it. Like, everyone wants to kind of play international at some level, and I think I don't want to kind of sound like rude by saying it, but if you got to take it via a back door, then go ahead and do it. Like, as long as you and your country, that country that you pick to play for, have an understanding of, right, I can help you, you can help me. I think you should just be able to go and do it. But I understand why some people kind of look at it funny. Like, obviously, Wan-Bissaka, Congo have done well. He wants to join up with them now. I can understand why people might look at it a bit funny, but if they do accept him at some point, like, he can only help them in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, playing at Manchester United, being an established Premier League player, you're gonna help whatever nation you go and play for. So yeah, it won't be the last we hear of it. There'll be lots more other players kind of finding out they can play for countries. Like, you look at what's his name, the guy from the Championship who's at Sheffield United now, Diaz. He didn't know he could play for Chile until a couple of years ago, and then he took the call up, and like he's doing well. Like, sometimes it works out, but apparently he's not in the latest squad because he can't speak Spanish and hasn't been learning it. So yeah, if you're gonna go play for these countries, you need to embrace the culture a little bit before they kick you
I
out.
think that Costa one was a bit. That one was a bit nasty though. The Diego Costa one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because he ain't Spanish at all. He ain't Spanish one bit. That one was nasty. But then I suppose that's down to Brazil. Brazil should have called him up and taxed him. But
And to be fair, I think Laporte was a bit as well. Like,
Laporte was bad.
Yeah, because he was proper holding out for France, wasn't he? And then they were just like, no.
Well, I don't know why they didn't play him.
Yeah.
And is it Marcos Senna as well? Another Brazilian that played for
plays for Spain. Yeah. Yeah, bad boy player.
Won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So it happens, man. So I don't think people should be too harsh on, like, the Wan-Bissaka of the world, etc.
But I think England should take more advantage of it, because there's times where England could have certain players and they've not done it. Even going back in the day, as people like Di Canio and that could have even played for England, but they didn't do it.
I think is that not based upon the talent, that you got more picks of talent? Like, England's got such a vast talent pot to pick from that they don't need to go. I think they'll be frowned upon if they went to the Canio, or an Italian centre back or a Brazilian right back to play for England, because they're saying there's enough quality here. They're already taking players that have got dual heritage, that was born elsewhere and came into England already. So I don't think they need to overly do that,
But good enough for Spain. Spain had a big talent. They won the World Cup. Their team good enough to win the World Cup, but they got a Brazilian to fill in a very important position for them.
Yeah, they did. They did. All right, that's another interesting topic that will rumble on and on and on. So that's all from us this week, guys. So thanks again for all the likes, subscribes, comments, shares, etc. Please keep it up, and we shall see you next week following the big clash between Manchester City and Arsenal. let's save it for next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, let's save it for next week. But yeah, peace.
See you later.
Later.